Okay, now we're going to do adoption of the agenda. We've got some things to add. We're going to add item number 9 for appointments. And then we're also going to break the public comments into 3 sections. One section will be for the ordinance of the animals. The next section will be for the Lake Norman Marine Commission, and then we will follow that with public comments at its given time as item number 7. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
I make a motion.
All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Carpenter. Any discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
So the agenda is approved. We will go to item number 2, which is the consent agenda. I will entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
So moved.
All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Moreland. Any discussion? All right, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, the ayes have it, so that is approved. So now we will go to item number 3, public zoning. Jeremiah. And when you get up here, we'll let Megan say her spiel.
Thank you, Chairman. So, good evening, everyone. Tonight, we will be hearing only legislative matters. The legislative matters will be heard in this joint meeting with the Planning Board, and at the conclusion of those legislative matters, the Planning Board will recess to, I believe, the back of the building to continue deliberations. So a legislative hearing is a forum for expressing public opinion about a project. To any citizen wishing to offer testimony tonight, we request that you be concise and that your testimony be limited unless you are asked questions by the board. If you are part of a group or you and your neighbors have substantially similar interests, please appoint a spokesperson to speak on the group's behalf. Any redundant or repeated testimony does not help your case and may be ruled out of order. So I need to confirm that no board members have a conflict of interest in regards to the cases before us tonight. No board member on either board shall vote on a legislative decision where the outcome of the matter being considered is reasonably likely to have a direct, substantial, and readily identifiable financial impact on the board member, or if the landowner of the property subject to the hearing has a close familial, business, or other associational relationship with the board member. Does any board member on either board have such a conflict?
No, ma'am.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
All right, Jeremiah, we'll start with ZMA 748.
All right, thank you, Chairman. Good evening, everyone. We'll start with this first case, zoning map amendment number 748. Dustin Hips is the applicant in this case, and he's requesting the rezoning of 6.4 acres from residential single family to residential transitional. The property is located at 364 Luther Drive in the Ironton Township, and it's adjoined by properties owned transitional residential and residential single family. Land uses in this area include primarily residential uses. This is at the end of a cul-de-sac in the Sigmund Farm subdivision, although this particular parcel is actually not part of the recorded subdivision. This property is located within an area designated by the land use plan as large lot residential, suitable for single family homes with densities up to 1.35 units per acre. You have some representative examples of permitted uses in the current district as well as the proposed zoning district, and you have staff's recommendation in your packet. We are recommending approval of this. You have our proposed statement of consistency and reasonableness. The 4th page of your packet is the application form completed by the applicant. I'll draw your attention to, they indicated that this property is currently being used as for a customary home occupation. Upon purchasing this property, the current owner converted the existing structure that was constructed in 2005 as an accessory structure, a storage building. They converted it to a home, and within a portion of that structure, they are operating a customary home occupation, which is permitted in this current zoning district. The applicant has stated their desire to build a new home on that property, converting this structure back to an accessory structure. When that happens, the business can no longer be conducted within this building unless it qualified as a rural home occupation, which is not allowed in the current zoning district. So rezoning this to transitional residential would be a required step in facilitating the conversion of the home-based occupation from a customary home occupation to a rural home occupation. So I wanted to acknowledge there is that element currently on the site, the customary home occupation. The applicant would like to rezone in order to potentially facilitate converting that to a rural home occupation and building a new home on the property. I'll be happy to answer any questions you have for me at this point.
Does any commissioner have any question for Jeremiah? Planning board have any questions for Jeremiah? Is the applicant here? Okay. If the applicant would like to come up and add anything to this? When you come to the podium there, if you would, state your name and address for us.
Yeah, Dustin Hips, 364 Luther Drive in Iron Station. Thank you guys for having us. Don't really have a whole lot to add. Jeremiah kind of touched it all. We've been using this property as a customary home occupation for almost a year now. We've been compliant with Lincoln County. I've met with Josh and the people with the committee there, and just wanted to go ahead and move to a residential transitional. That way me and my wife can build our house. We have our house plans here just to show we've purchased these, and we're just waiting for this to get passed. That way we can continue what we're doing and stay compliant with Lincoln County, build a new home there for the foreseeable future, and just ensure that we're staying compliant with Lincoln County ordinances. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anyone have any
Wait,
questions?
Mr. Hipp. So
Yes, sir.
are you aware of the folks in the neighborhood who are not real thrilled about the business being there?
Yes, I'm very aware.
And is the business going to expand once you get your home there and you can move out of the little garage area?
No, the only difference that we'll have there is I would like to keep running the business the same way we are. I would just like to build a house for my family on the structure or on the property, and have that accessory building available for my business.
So you're going to continue working out of that building?
Yes.
Okay. And how many employees do you have working out of that building, sir?
Out of that building, I have 2 employees, not counting myself, and my father-in-law, who's listed as a resident there as well.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, at this time, I will open the public hearing for ZMA 748 Dustin Hips applicant. We have Philip Moore signed up to speak. If you would come to the front and state your name and address.
Good evening. Philip Moore. I live at 392 Luther Drive, which is directly down the road from the said adjacent 364.
Okay, hang on one second. The group of people that stood up behind you, are you
They're
speaking?
neighbors.
You're speaking on behalf of the group?
I am not. I am, but I'm not, I guess. Everybody wants their time at the mic. So they all stood up to let you know we're all here to oppose
Okay,
this.
if you're speaking on behalf of the group, you'll get 5 minutes, but I only have one other person signed up to speak in this case.
Then I will speak on behalf if that's good with everybody else.
We signed up correctly.
Okay. Everybody signed up correctly then.
Okay.
Is good?
Well, I've just got one other person to speak besides yourself, so.
Okay, very good. So our community right there is, yes, transitional on one half along with residential. While the half that this lot is particularly on, it is completely residential. So whether you approve this or not, that business has already increased the traffic on the road, and there's only one way in and one way out of this community. So that means that they will have to travel in and out through a residential community. So how do you overcome that? The adjacent lots that they're referring to, that Joshua talked about, is woods that back up to the transitional lots. There's no other exit other than past and through a residential zoned neighborhood. The increased traffic that has already occurred over the past year has increased so much. We literally have a neighborhood where the kids, like, love the fact that y'all are of good age with me. You grew up where the kids play in the neighborhoods, they play in the streets, they ride their bikes, they play in each other's yards. We have people that walk their dogs The traffic increase up and down, I'm talking tractor trailers coming in and out, plumbing supplies. So they say it's just for residential. They have 2 containers already back there for storage. They also have a commercial dumpster that gets emptied on Mondays. They say it's for building, that they're going to do a home, and it's been permitted. There's no building permit that's been pulled for this home. It is already being used as a commercial business back there. He had a business on 16. They've moved it over our way. What's changed? What part of that business has changed? That's the big question. They didn't move back there for any other reason but to operate this business. By rezoning, you're allowing him to operate out of an additional building instead of being residential where it's occupied for 750 square feet, I believe, out of a home. They've gravelled the whole area. That's fine. It's their property. They can do what they want with that. The increased business that's coming back and forth through there, they say it's 2 employees back there. Guarantee you it's not. Nothing's changed. We see the cars coming back and forth through there and the different employees that are going back and forth, the box trucks, all the plumbing, checker flag plumbing. I know we're not here to talk about shutting down their business. I think entrepreneurship is great. I have no problem with that. I do have a problem with the business operating in a residential neighborhood at that capacity. If they want to build a home, why do they need it rezoned? They need it rezoned so they can occupy a commercial business back there. Okay. They still have to go through a residential neighborhood that's zoned one way in, one way out, and travel through a residential zoned area. I invite you to come to our neighborhood, take a look around, and you'll notice every home in there is a home. There is no commercial businesses operating back there. This whole neighborhood is a community, and we're proud of it, and we want to keep it that way. And we welcome the hips to build a home and join the community and enjoy us. We have no problem with a home being built. We have a problem with the increased traffic that's already happened over the past year. So, and we've sent letters. We've been on this for over 7 months now, talking back and forth with Joshua. You explained to me how a transitional neighborhood backed up to a residential neighborhood allows that to become a transitional lot when you still have to go through the residential neighborhood. I don't get it. And that's our fight for this right now. So all this being said, we are totally against it because on the zoning of these small businesses in residential neighborhoods, again, we agree with having businesses, just not commercial businesses, not with that increased traffic. So all that being said, I thank you for your time. And if you have any questions for me, I'll take them now.
Mr. Moore, is there a noticeable, decline in the asphalt or anything in the neighborhood from those trucks, or?
Our roads are narrow as it is back through there, as you can imagine, being a one-way in, one kind of neighborhood. So yeah, it's declined. They just paved them a year and a half, 2 years ago. They just paved it. So you're asking me a question I can't answer.
I didn't know if there was cracks in the asphalt or if it was starting to make it accelerate the deterioration of it, or?
It was recently repaved.
Okay.
So that's a question I couldn't tell you
Okay.
whether it is or not.
And did you pave it, or is it a private road or a state road?
It's a state road. They paved it. That is correct. And we do have the HOA back there, but I want to make it clear, I'm not speaking on behalf of the HOA. We're speaking on behalf of a community.
So, but that lot is not part of the HOA?
It is not. It was actually given, so when Laura Gillen actually gave it in concession to Rob, one of the neighbors that built 11 homes back there, it was for farming. He had wine vineyard back there and built that home just to keep, because he took care of the levee that runs past the pond. So all of his, farm equipment was back there, and he took care of a lot of this stuff. Since then, they've moved out. They sold the lot.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Next on the list is Sheila Sadler. If you would state your name and address.
I'm Sheila Sadler. I live at 625 Luther Drive. Good evening. My name is Sheila Sadler. I want to paint a quick picture of Sigmund Farms. I have been a homeowner in the neighborhood for 25 years. Prior to our home being built, it was catfish country where locals would come to fish. This neighborhood is a diamond in the rough. It is what life was like growing up 40 years ago. Parents watching out for each other, kids playing in the neighborhood until the street lights come on. We have watched our kids learn to ride bikes and graduate high school and college together. We celebrate holidays together as a neighborhood community, cooking for one another when one is sick, watering each other's flowers, and letting the dogs out when one is out of town. Easter at the Callaways, Christmas Eve at the Crepes, July 4th with the barbecue cook-off, New Year's Eve at the Drivers, and Halloween at the Dulles. We gather at a hill at Kathy's when it snows, where parents and kids have a bonfire and sledding. We welcome new neighbors with arms open, a casserole or a sweet dessert. We want our dream to be your dream and support small businesses, but putting a commercial business in our residential neighborhood with no outlet and multiple service trucks running in and out was never our dream, and just by occurrence puts our children at risk. The letter that the Board of Commissioners received this evening was written by a fellow homeowner, and we feel that it best represents the feelings of our neighborhood. Please consider opposing the rezoning request and standing in support with 55 Sigmund Farms residents representing 30 of 34 lots, so that we can continue keeping this sweet neighborhood as brilliant and as beautiful as it was intended when Miss Laura Gilliland developed it. Thank you.
For ZMA number 749, the applicant in this case is Joshua Lee Schultz, and he's requesting the rezoning of 2 acres from residential single family to transitional residential. This property is located approximately 300 feet east of Randleman Road and 900 feet south of Reinhardt Circle in Ironton Township. It's adjoined by property that's zoned transitional residential and residential single family, and land uses in this area include primarily residential and agricultural uses. This property is located within an area designated by the land use plan as large lot residential, suitable for single family homes with densities up to 1.35 units per acre. The applicant indicated on their application the reason for the rezoning was to allow them the option to potentially place a manufactured home on this property. You have in your packet representative examples of permitted uses under the current district as well as the proposed district. Staff is recommending approval of this request. You have our proposed statement in your packet, and I'll be glad to answer any questions you have for me.
All right, does anyone have any questions for Jeremiah? Okay, is the applicant here? All right, if you would come up and state your name and address and add anything to this that you would like.
Hello there. My name is Joshua Schultz. I live on 772 Horseshoe Lake Road in Lincolnton. There's not really a lot I can really add to that. It's just really me and my wife are right now living in a trailer that ain't doing too good. It's owned by a different side of my family, and we're wanting to be able to have our own house. Something that does better than what we're in right now. Just recently had a kid, and I just want to be able to have her to be able to live in a better home than what we're in right now. And just want to be able to build a house of my own, like have a house over there of my own. Yeah, that's about it.
Okay, does anyone have any questions for Josh? Okay, thank you. So I will open the public hearing for this case, and I don't have anyone signed up to speak on this matter, so besides the applicant, so then I will close the public hearing. And we will move on to ZMA 750.
The applicant in this case is Sane and Hevner Trucking Company Incorporated. They're requesting the rezoning of 5.81 acres from residential suburban to industrial general. The proposed use of the property, as indicated on their application, is to remain the same as the existing grandfathered freight trucking operation, but they, over the years, have expanded onto an adjoining parcel, so they're proposing to rezone both of these to industrial. The subject property is located at 1957 Cat Square Road in Howards Creek Township, and the property is adjoined by property zoned transitional residential and residential suburban. Land uses in this area include business, residential, and agricultural uses, and the property is located in an area designated by the land use plan as rural living, suitable for residential uses on large lots with small nodes of commercial activity concentrated at rural crossroads. In your packet, you have examples of permitted uses under the current district, including the grandfathered trucking operation, and then permitted uses under the proposed zoning district. Staff is recommending approval of this request. You have our proposed statement in your packet, and I'll be happy to answer any questions you have for me.
Does anyone have any questions for Jeremiah?
Jeremiah, I don't mean to be dense, but there's lots of business-related equipment on the lot now. What are they going to get to do that they can't do now? I'm not opposed to them, just saying I don't really understand why they need zoning from us.
So the larger of these two parcels, the northernmost one, that is the one where the grandfathered business has been located for quite some time. The southern parcel, over the years, Sane and Hevner has expanded, and that they've been using that for, it appears, storage of freight trailers, and that would have required rezoning that parcel. So they're here tonight to rezone both of these to industrial, to bring both of them into compliance with the current standards.
Okay, so currently it would be violating the, currently it's violating the policy, but where they're kind of trying to get to where it is not violating the policy.
Right. The expansion does represent a violation of the zoning ordinance standards.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for Jeremiah? Okay, is the applicant here? If you would state your name and address for us.
My name is Karen Sane. I live at 6766 Sanetown Road in Vale.
Is there anything you want to add?
Everything he said is true. The original parcel has been there, grandfathered in since the early 80s. The owner purchased 2 and something acres beside it. We use it for empty trailers that are just housed before we pull them out. So the operation has not changed in the past 20 years or more. That's it.
Okay, does anyone have any questions for the applicant? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I will open the public hearing for ZMA 750, and I have no one signed up to speak except for the applicant, so I will close the public hearing for ZMA 750, and we will move to UDO Amendment 2025-2.
So this is a proposal to amend the Unified Development Ordinance, specifically some of the standards related to signage. The applicant in this case is proposing to amend Article 3, Section 3.9 to create an allowance for windblown signage, specifically the feather flag variety. The language now provides examples of temporary signs for better clarity, creates some needed cross-references, and cleans up some of the things that have been somewhat problematic in interpreting our ordinance over the years. So trying to clean up some language while also carving out a provision for these types of feather flag windblown signs. The sign regulations as currently prescribed in the UDO prohibit windblown signage completely, and that would include feather flags. The applicant is proposing to amend the ordinance to allow these. In practice, the more urbanized areas within the community, such as along the Highway 16 corridor, they've struggled to operate in compliance with the current standards. It's been a task for our code enforcement staff over the years to educate business owners along this corridor, and as well as enforce this section of our ordinance. This is a very large percentage of our sign enforcement is related to windblown signage. So we have this proposal before us tonight from the applicant. You have a proposed statement of consistency as well as the revisions to, or the amendment to the ordinance language itself included in your packet. I will note that with this provision, there is still a maximum height of 8 feet. That's consistent with every other type of sign allowed in the Eastern Lincoln Development District overlay that covers the Highway 16 corridor, as well as a portion of Highways 150 and 73. I'll be happy to answer any questions you have for me on this.
Since you're redoing the ordinance, was there any thought put into there to make sure the signs are kept in a, I guess, a well-maintained order? Not tattered or faded to the point that they're just a nuisance?
So there is currently in the ordinance some language about obsolete or deteriorated signs that would still apply to these types of signs as well.
Anybody else?
Yes, sir. So if I read the ordinance correctly, and please correct me if I have not, if I read the ordinance correctly, a place like the Harris Teeter down at 1673, where there's 12 businesses, I believe, could have 12 signs out on Highway 73. Is that correct?
So I'm going to lean on my peer who wrote this report, and one per tenant, correct?
So they could
Yes.
have 12 signs out on Highway 73, blowing in the wind.
If they have 12 tenant spaces and each one of them have a tenant, then yes.
And so each little strip mall on Highway 16 that has 6 or 7 businesses could have 6 or 7 signs.
Correct. As currently proposed, that's what this amendment would allow, yes.
I think that was not the general intent when the young lady came and spoke to us about her opening of the business. And so I think it's important that we hear everyone's point of view so that we can look at what's actually on paper and what our intent was initially. And that'll give us after the planning board meets, then we can kind of tweak some of the things that are of concern to at least me and a few others.
Sure.
Thank you. Thank you, Josh. Thank you, Josh, for your clarification.
Okay, anyone else? Okay. Anything else you want to add, Jeremiah?
I don't believe so.
Okay, is the applicant here? Standing in front of you. Oh, this is the lady. Yeah, gotcha. Okay.
Shallon Brooks, I reside at 1133 Southwood Drive in Denver, North Carolina. Appreciate seeing y'all again. Yes, just as he said, this ordinance, I realize this has been up for much debate. To your point, could we have 10 or 12 signs? Sure. As a small business owner, bringing quality business, a higher quality business to the town, and I know many other business owners. And on 16 there, we're kind of up hidden in the beaten path. And a lot of those signs, as I've talked to Jeremiah about, are grandfathered in or tall or the lights don't work or whatever. At first, when I did move in, you're correct, I did not know, and I put the feathered flag out. It was custom, it's beautiful and all the things. I take it in every night, I don't leave it out there, I don't want to have trash all over the place, same thing, maintenance. It wasn't until I got the fine that I was aware of it. For me, it's cost-effective advertising as a small business. I noticed a traffic delay or decline of about revenue of $1,000 a month, just when I took the flag down to now. And so that's also revenue of the county, as businesses who pay taxes to the county. So and then I come here, right? I'm not in Lincolnton a lot, and I probably passed 8 feather flags on the way here. And so then I think, well, how much taxpayer dollars does it take to have, like you said, it's a lot of the signage problems, right? To send the postage, to send the fine, when I feel like maybe just with some simple changes, I don't feel that 12 businesses from a Harris, or a big complex are going to take advantage of this. Most of them probably don't even know or care. But for small businesses that do care, it's a representation of my brand, of my company, and I would just like the opportunity to be able to display that, to showcase that, hey, I'm not a service industry, I'm a shopping place. So when I see a sign that says boutique open, oh, I can go there and shop. But most people don't know, it's no different than going to buy a place that has nail salon flag. I wouldn't have known there was a nail salon in a strip, certain things like that. So I appreciate the consideration. And of course, I do know that there's always those out there that may do it differently, but I can assure you, I can speak for myself, it would be done tastefully and taken care of. So I appreciate your time.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions or?
Thank you.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
so much.
Okay, I will now open the public hearing for UDO Amendment 2025-2. And we have Patty Corn signed up to speak.
Patty Corn, 3165 Lakeshore Road South in Denver. I'm speaking tonight on behalf of the Denver Beautification Committee, of which I am the chairperson. I'm requesting that you please disapprove proposed amendment, which would allow windblown flags. The proposed amendment is inconsistent with the land use plan, the Highway 16 corridor vision plan, and with the guiding principles of the Blueprint 2043. Windblown flags are not currently allowed by the UDO for several reasons, including adverse impact on traffic safety and community appearance, and this prohibition should remain for the following reasons. Windblown flags are a roadside distraction. That's why businesses put them up, to get attention. And roadside distractions are unsafe. Any good driver knows that you only have to take your eyes off the road for a few seconds for something bad to happen. Windblown flags also detract from our community's appearance. I mean, can you imagine what our county's going to look like if every business is allowed to fly even one windblown flag? And if every real estate agent who has a house for sale or an open house sign is allowed to fly one windblown flag? Last week, we had one business on Highway 16 that had 9 windblown flags on their premises. Windblown flags are not a necessary form of advertisement. There are options. And I would ask any business that is compelled to fly a windblown flag to please consider your 4 Ps: your product, your price, your place, and your promotion. What is wrong with your 4 Ps that compel you to fly a windblown flag, which is a roadside distraction and unsafe, and it detracts from our community appearance? Windblown flags are not translucent. I've never seen, as they said, a can be seen through windblown flag. County commissioners, I want to read this. If you allow windblown flags, there is little to no confidence that the county will be able to enforce no windblown flags in the right-of-way or in sight triangles in a timely and safe manner, especially because many of these windblown flags are put up on the weekends, and this will further increase the danger along the roads. The roads in eastern Lincoln County are already dangerous. In addition, for the past 20 years that I've lived in Denver and have been a community beautification volunteer, the feedback has been consistent from citizens in the county. We have too many signs and we have too many unattractive signs. And I would call your attention to the North Carolina Highway or NC-16 Corridor Vision Plan, which is a county plan on the county website under planning. It says here many times over, we have too many signs and too many unattractive signs. Back in the day when we had a local newspaper that focused just on Denver, there was many articles about beautifying Denver and the problem with signage. And the third example is Back in 2018, when Keep Lincoln County Beautiful was trying to become an affiliate of Keep America Beautiful, we were required to do a community appearance index. You've heard of our litter index. This was something else we had to do, and signage came up here. I just want to cite a few things from the Highway 16 corridor plan. The executive or the steering committee identified signage as a problem. Weaknesses of Highway 16: signs, too many, cluttered, too large. Over 100 people attended a public forum. They were divided into 5 groups. All 5 groups identified signage as a problem. I'd like to read 2 sentences to you. Well, under land use, it says adopt sign requirements and enforcement. Okay, here's these 2 sentences. This overabundance of signage effectively clutters the corridor and makes it difficult in some places to read the signs because they compete with each other to be seen, making each ineffective for the businesses to display useful information. Additionally, the overuse of temporary signs leads to clutter and litter problems along the corridor, blah, blah, blah. And the last sentence from the Highway 16 corridor vision plan: adverse visual impacts, eyesores, should be avoided. The impression a community gives is largely based on how it looks. I wish I had more time to talk about some of these newspaper articles and the feedback we got from the Community Appearance Index, but I would just like to ask you to keep Lincoln County classy and not tacky.
Commissioners, Planning Board, I just wanted to make one clarification to supplement some of the things that Jeremiah had mentioned, and that is that with this amendment, we are simply adding an additional type of temporary signage, not adding the number of signs that can be allowed. So the number of temporary signs that a business can have today are remaining the same with this amendment as they are today with the businesses. It's 1 temporary sign per tenant in a shopping center. It's 1 temporary sign per parcel if it's individually owned, an individual building on that property. And that just goes the same with what is allowed today is plastic corrugated temporary signs, banners. This is just adding a sign type to that classification. Just wanted to make that distinction so everyone understood. Thank you.
Josh, while you're there, is there a time frame that these signs can be out already in the ordinance? I was looking and I didn't see it.
Jeremiah, is there a specific time frame? No, there's not.
So if we could add something, a time frame that limits how long the sign can be out, and then we could start like a fine after that if we figure it out or something, I don't know.
That's something that the planning board can consider, staff can consider, absolutely.
Okay.
Okay, next on the list to speak is George Barr.
Good evening, George Barr, 7837 Live Oaks Drive, Denver, and I am speaking for Elba. I will not repeat everything that Patty said, but we are 100% behind what she said and the reasons why she said it. And I would also submit that the fact, as Jeremiah pointed out, that they can't enforce the signage out there now is really not a good reason to pass the allowance of more signage. That's all I have.
Thank you, George.
Okay.
All right, with having no one else signed up to speak, I will close the public hearing and we'll move on to CZ 2025-1.
For the final hearing this evening, the applicant in this case is requesting the rezoning of a 3.35 acre portion of a parcel from residential suburban to conditional zoning general business for a retail store. A site plan has been submitted as part of the rezoning application, and since this is a proposed rezoning to a conditional zoning district, if this request were to be approved, the property could only be used for the specified use as shown on that plan. Also included in this packet is a summary of the community involvement meeting that was held on April 3rd. The subject property is located at the southwest corner of the intersection of Southside Road and Gastonia Highway, south of town here in the Lincolnton Township. The property is adjoined by a property that's zoned residential suburban and R25, which is a residential district in the city of Lincolnton's zoning jurisdiction. Land uses in this area include residential, civic, and business uses. Although there are some business districts not too far away within the city's jurisdiction, there are none directly adjoining this property. This property is located in an area designated by the Lincoln County Land Use Plan as large lot residential. You have examples of permitted uses under the current zoning district, and you see under the proposed district only that one permitted use that would be approved, the retail store as shown on the proposed site plan. This parcel is located in the WS4 protected area of the Catawba South Fork River watershed, water supply watershed, so that does limit the density of non-resident or the impervious coverage of non-residential developments. So the applicant could exceed the low density option if they come back through another public hearing process. Staff is not recommending approval of this request due to inconsistency with the land use plan and the built conditions of the surrounding area. You have our proposed statement in your packet, and I'll be happy to answer any questions that you have. Actually, I apologize. I do want to point out just a couple of things on the site plan. So with this being a corner lot along a highway here, the driveway on Gastonia Highway would be limited to right-in, right-out only, and that was also a requirement of NCDOT, not only our local zoning standards. So the primary access would be off of Southside Road with right-in, right-out only on Gastonia Highway. And then you have the proposed zoning district aligns with the proposed subdivision line as indicated there on the site plan. So I'll be happy to answer any questions you have for me.
Does anyone have any questions for Jeremiah?
Yeah, Jeremiah, I noticed on here it said that the existing pond cannot be converted to stormwater control measures. What is the plan for the existing pond? Do you know? Are they gonna fill it in? Can they do that? Is Diener involved?
Since that's jurisdictional waters, I don't believe the applicant is planning to make any alterations to the pond, but certainly I'll let them answer that definitively.
Okay, is the applicant here?
Hi, how are you all? Beth Godfrey, 4500 Cameron Valley Parkway, Charlotte, North Carolina. You're right, Jeremiah, we're not altering the pond, the existing pond. But I'm here to answer any questions if anybody has any questions. My co-applicant, Knox Campbell, is also signed up to speak second, and he has some information he'd like to share as well.
He can come on up if he's part of the application.
Okay. Do you want me to stay up here?
Yeah, sure, yeah.
Knox Campbell, also 4500 Cameron Valley Parkway, Charlotte, North Carolina, 28211. Did just want to speak for a minute. Beth and I work for a company called the Keith Corporation. Our firm has a long history with you all here. I believe 4.4 million square feet of industrial in the Lincoln County Industrial Park on 680 acres, 17 buildings, and about $440 million. So did want to mention that. We've been coming down here and partnering with you all for quite some time. But Beth and I are happy to answer any questions. We did read the staff report, and I understand that we're right on the county line, but there is a lot of, many commercial uses, Cotton Seafood, Sunoco, pretty close to the north. I thought Cotton Seafood was on an adjacent parcel. I realized with county, different jurisdictions, so to speak. And then Lincoln Christian Academy, Covenant Church, as well as Southside Baptist Church. I mean, those are all, so there's actually only one home adjacent to this other than the seller, who would be 2 houses down on a 16-acre parcel. So happy to answer any questions.
Does anyone have any questions for the applicant? Okay, I will now open the public hearing for CZ 2022-1.
And having no one else signed up to speak, I will close the, okay. Okay, I'll give you 3 minutes.
Speak on behalf, my name's Rob Jordan, 1583 Reap Hill Trail. I'm going to speak on behalf of myself, my father-in-law, Steve Reap, 1797 10 Mine Road. We are right across the highway from the proposed location. He's been living there 76 years. I've been living there 30. My wife's been living there 50. This is, you know, some of the pieces of property around there are a little bit larger. We have a little bit of land, a couple acres apiece. So yeah, there's not a lot of people in the area, but it's always been a smaller residential area, safe area. We've had one gas station in the area since, I don't remember, since the 80s at least. We don't have a need for another one. If you put something in a community, it should be in something that betters that community. This is not going to better our community. This is something we don't need. It's going to tie up access to Southside Road. It's already a hard area to get in and out of at different times of day when the church is let out, at rush hour. You can set to make a left-hand turn off of the Tin Mine Road onto the highway, and it can take you sometimes 5 to 10 minutes already. We don't need this. The pond they're talking about is in a significant portion of the property to build around that. It's going to be a disaster looking thing. We already have a problem. We're starting to see it seep in behind the gas station we have. We have some homeless people starting to move in. With all the acreage around this property, we're going to see the same thing on the other side of the road now, because the homeless people like to go to the gas station, get their beer and cigarettes, and go back into the woods. One of the residents that has property right next to the other gas station says, I let them live back there so they don't bother my stuff. I've already had a catalytic converter stolen off of a vehicle sitting outside of my building at my house. One of my neighbors has had a gun stolen out of a building sitting beside their house that the homeless broke into. We've got enough problems. We've been living there for 30 years. Last year I put in a security system for the first time ever. We don't need this. We don't want this. There's nobody in the area that needs it or wants it. There's a lot of senior citizens in the area that live in most of the properties that are facing this or right around there. They don't, you know, they didn't probably attend the hearing because they didn't understand how it worked. So I'm going to speak on behalf of those people and say they don't want this either after talking to them. Thank you.
Thank you.
One second.
Sir?
So, sorry, I'm having trouble with my little button over here.
That's okay.
Okay, so you're directly across the street on Tin Mine Road?
If you go off the Tin Mine Road, and you'll see Reap Hill Trail, it's the first road to the left off of Tin Mine Road. So my property backs up to my father-in-law's, which is right on or faces my father-in-law's property, which is right on the Tin Mine Road. So we're within that 600 feet area. That's why we're here, because we got the notice.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but looking at the topo map and the other maps that we've gotten, it looks like the vast majority of the places in that area are residential.
Yes. Across the street, you have the one gas station on our side of the highway. After you have two residential properties, then the gas station. Once you pass Southside Road, across the street you have the one. For those of you who remember the old Italian villa, that's Cotton Seafood now. And then you have the church. So I don't consider a church commercial. I don't care what anybody from Charlotte tells me. A church is not commercial. Never has been. Never will be. So.
I'm a little surprised that this kind of came before us. It just seems like
it would be the first stop on the way into Lincoln.
It seems like
coming from 321.
Just seems like an odd place to me.
Yeah, it's a business deal. It's the first stop on the way into Lincoln from 321. You can get your beer on the way in.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. So we're good. Good. All right. With having no one else signed up to speak, I will close the public hearing, and we will take a 5-minute recess as the planning board moves into room 310. And if you're interested to hear what they have to say, you can follow them in there. Okay, we are back in session, and we'll go to item number 4, economic development. Cliff, you have the floor.
Good evening, Commissioners. I bring out updates since I last spoke with you, which was back when we were here, and had our planning retreat back in January on a number of wins that we've had, and some other good things poised towards our shared strategic goal of increasing the investment in industrial square footage in Lincoln County. And that's what I use. All right. Well, I'm trying to get this thing to scroll down. Do what?
There's no attachments.
Oh, okay. Well, I can speak through it with that. So from a small business standpoint, had a number of good new businesses open. Since we were back for you back in January, we had Fairway Leathers ribbon cutting and grand opening here in downtown, a very unique business that does, actually they embroider golf bags for teams all over the world, and a lot of colleges and different groups. So glad to have them here. We opened helped with Standing in the Gap thrift store back in March on 1202 East Main Street. Then Cowboy Killer Company Boutique opened right after that, also downtown. And then right after that, Black Tie Events downtown as well on March 20th at 103 East Main, right next door to the Chamber. We continued our growing number of student tours and getting our students out into the advanced manufacturing world to see firsthand what's there and available for them in careers. And recently had these for this round. They toured Anylar, Timken, Bosch, Aptar, Hydak, Tenovu, Bloom, Huber Technologies, Vapor Honing Technologies, Leeboy, Ray City Steel, and Seymour Technologies. So got a lot of young minds open to see what great careers they can have staying right here at home in Lincoln County. We announced, Mr. Dancock back behind me, came before you, announced an expansion for Spantech, $3,850,000 in machinery and building. And this is, I believe, the third expansion they've had in recent years of their investment in Lincoln County. Here I am. Ease us on up. There's the students in those tours. You know, we've done this long enough now, you can go on those tours and see people that are in decision-making capacity in these industries that got their first look going on these tours. So, and picture inside Spantech. Spantech manufactures expanded metal that's used in a world of other manufacturing scenarios. And back into March, we held our Milestone Achievement Awards. Those are all local businesses that are in industrial manufacturing NAICS codes, honored for their time being here every 5 years. It's great to see Huber Technologies. It was like their ribbon cutting and groundbreaking was the other day, but they've made not only 5 years, they've tripled in size in those 5 years. And we always have our winners say a minute about their business and what they do. And every one of them consistently says they made the right decision to invest in Lincoln County. They thank the leadership of Lincoln County, which is you, and the city of Lincoln if they're there. But they always say how happy they are to be here and how supportive this community is of their businesses. So thank you, everyone in Lincoln County, for that. This is the spec building in the Lincoln County Industrial Park. When you first come in on your left, this building was having the final touches put on it when I spoke to you in January. It is now fully on the market, available for sale or lease. So we can entertain both of those types of projects. 175,000 square feet, and it is a fantastic facility. Lincoln Commerce Center, the building that's 367,000 square feet, indicated by the yellow star. That building is still on the market for lease only, but are having some looks at it now that things hope to see to be leveling out in our economy, but hope to have that one filled, if not fully, partially soon. And we've seen a big uptick in interest in the 20 to 30, 40,000 square foot building range. And we've got some really good properties here in the county that'll fit that. This is the old Lentex building, 33,000 square feet, having some good looks there. 2381 Industrial Park Road is 10,000 square feet. If we had any investors out there listening, 2 or 3 more like that coming online, we could help fill them. There's a lot of interest in that. And I like that a lot of the industries that come into buildings this size are locally owned. and they typically have a strong family presence there. So glad to see these opportunities there. Recently, the old Cochran Furniture building was sold. That's a very large compound type or campus facility, and they're putting some money back into the building. It's doing a lot of upfits, some more modern lighting, cleaning it up, and it was already in great shape. But they're leasing these out in smaller, different sections. I actually had a real good site visit with a company from Canada last week looking there. We think that they will be coming back, but this has given us some great cost-effective space to bring new industries and expand existing industries here in Lincoln County. And lastly, just a good economic indicator, our unemployment rate for Lincoln County is consistently the lowest or next to lowest in the region. We're at 3.2% last month. It was the lowest of the 15 counties in the Charlotte region. So, and to show you that last, where exactly we did fall, is a snapshot. You see where Lincoln is at 3.2, and that's actually up from 3, but we're still sitting right at full employment. And be glad to answer any questions.
Does anyone have any questions for Cliff?
I just want to thank Cliff for all he and his staff do. And they were very helpful when we have asked for some meetings lately and allowing us to use their building and their resources, and we greatly appreciate that.
Absolutely. They're there for you to use as needed. So thank you all. Good night.
Thank you. Okay, now we will move to item number 5, the ordinance amending Chapter 92 of the Lincoln County Code of Ordinance. Ms. Megan Gilbert will present, and then after we, yep. So after Ms. Gilbert presents this, then we will give an opportunity for some public comment. So hopefully Ms. Gilbert's presentation will answer some of the comments and things. I know we've been given emails, and all the emails have pretty much said the same thing, so I hope that they would, her presentation will answer a lot of questions for everyone. You have the floor.
Thank you, Chairman. So tonight I bring before you for the second time the ordinance to amend Chapter 92 of the Lincoln County Code of Ordinances. This is a complete rewrite of the Animal Services Ordinances, and what seems to be, in no other terms, the hot topic is the exotic animal portion of the ordinance. I have received all of the emails that the commissioners have received of these statements regarding the exotic animal portion of the ordinance. And some of the concerns were related to the definition being too broad and including ferrets and hamsters and fish and things like that. That is not the case. So, but to codify that and to make it clear, I did work with Jana, who is the Animal Services Director, and we did add an additional line to the exceptions portion, 92.12.4, that states that any animal ordinarily available for purchase at a pet store in North Carolina. So that would include anything you can buy in specialty pet stores in North Carolina, PetSmart, Petco, anything like that, that is not included in the portion of the policy that is related to the exotic animals. Other than that, there have been no other substantive changes since the last meeting. One of the changes that I believe was brought up by Commissioner Mullen with questions about emus and ostriches, we have incorporated those changes also into the exceptions portion where it does not include those. One additional change that was brought to light by Jana was the need to add in that the Animal Services Director retains the right to change the designation of a potentially dangerous dog that has maybe been in a bad situation, bad owners. They had to be deemed potentially dangerous because of a dog bite or multiple dog bites. I believe it's 2 to require that. But then once they get them into the custody of Lincoln County, so the dog must be in the custody of Lincoln County, then it gives Jana or her designee the ability to change that designation or remove that designation if she believes that that's necessary. Now, if that dog was then subsequently adopted out, then they would go out with behavioral waivers and all of those things that are necessary, but we can't legally adopt out a dog that has been deemed potentially dangerous. But if we can remove that designation, but then still include those behavioral waivers that we do for any behavioral dog, then that was put in there for that purpose. So any questions for me regarding those changes?
Yes, ma'am. And as you made these changes, are we now pretty much compliant with everybody else in North Carolina?
The exotic animals. So the framework that we used to draft this was from multiple counties in the state. Most of them use this exact framework. So yes, we are in line with all other counties that have exotic animal ordinances, and we've added a little bit of extra protection in there with adding in the animals ordinarily available for purchase at a pet store and more thoroughly defining livestock. But everything else is in line with the other counties.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Does anyone else have anything, any questions for Megan? Okay, so I will now open the public comment portion. I have a list of names here, and I will say this, that if you are speaking for a group, the group needs to stand and identify themselves, and you will be given 5 minutes. If you are speaking on yourself, you get 3 minutes. We do have some people on here who have signed up with the same name and same address, so I will give each one of you as a group. I will consider that a group, so the two of you will get 5 minutes, so y'all two can come to the podium at the same time. So leading off with public comments, we've got Cole Davis and Tim Davis. If you would state your name and address.
Yes, Timothy Davis. I go by Tim, 3258 Maiden Highway, and this is my daughter, Chloe Davis, at the same address. You want me to go first, or do you want to go first? So I do thank you for the additional clarifying language that was added. Some of that I had not seen until just now, because as the way I'd read it, it seemed like the fact that the word "or" was used in the definition of dangerous exotic animals, that would mean several species that are not commonly associated as dangerous, such as a crested gecko or an aquarium fish. If it just happens to not be native to North Carolina, it would then meet the classification because of the wording "or." But having that exception for the animals commonly sold in pet shops does address some of our concerns, but we do still have a couple more concerns. So did you want to go ahead and speak first?
Yeah, sure. So, frankly, most of our concern has been cleared up, but we do still have some. If your concern is about protecting people from dangerous animals, then we're looking at the wrong place. The most likely danger we face from animals is from one species, humans. The North Carolina, what's that?
So, yeah, what she's about to cite is from the North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services DTEC tool, which is their disease event tracking and epidemiologic collection tool.
Right here?
Yeah, so the NC DTEC report on violent injuries, yeah.
They found that from 2012 to 2015, that a total of 182,289 emergency department visits, where 72.7% were from assaults by people, and the other 22.7 were self-inflicted. So that is also a concern, more so than even dogs and cats. Our second thing, would you like to say this?
So there was another part of that I had a little bit of concern, and that was the language about, quote, so long as an animal is within sight of an animal services officer or a law enforcement officer, there shall be no requirement that any warrant be obtained before removing the animal. So does that mean there's just no due process before any kind of pet seizure? I mean, I understand if there's an imminent danger, like if a dog or a cat or or if somebody happens to be or want to be Tiger King and has an animal that's attacking somebody, I can understand, no, we can't wait for a warrant in that situation. But the way it was worded, just like that, so for example, sometimes, she has a couple pet domesticated rats, and we would bring them to community functions as, they just seem to be good conversation starters. They're very gentle, social animals. If somebody saw that and they just didn't like it, would they be able to seize it, or was there any kind of provision there for any kind of due process before an animal seizure? Since, again, just the way because what I have typed here was literally from the proposed ordinance. I can pull that up. I didn't write it down.
It was in the,
Because I didn't write down the section number. But
was it in the exotic animal portion?
It may not have been exactly in that portion. It may have been elsewhere in the proposed wording.
I'll say the intent is not to let somebody just come up and take your animal without due cause or, due process. I mean, we're not against animals. Let me make that clear. So, and we're not just gonna let people come up and take that's your property.
Right.
So,
Yeah, I think it pertains to if a vehicle's in a hot collar or something. They don't have to wait on.
Okay. Well, and again, I understand that because, that's an animal safety concern or animal cruelty concern. It was just, my concern, just with any kind of proposed legislation or ordinances, is just how vaguely it could be worded and misinterpreted down the road. So thank you for your time.
thank you. So next on the list is Louis Naskey. If you would, state your name and address.
Yes, I'm Louis Waskey. My address is 406 Dupee Avenue, Colonial Heights, Virginia. I am here representing the American Federation of Aviculture. I'm the president, and we have grave concerns over this ordinance. Our organization supports the keeping, the breeding, the conservation of avian species. I think that helped a little with the pet store exemption, but there's over 400 species of parrots, and that doesn't include soft bills like canaries, finches. And if you look at all the birds sold in the state in 1 year, it's only going to be a small percentage of it. Most of your birds sold in pet stores are canaries, finches, parakeets, cockatiels, and a few conures. Occasionally there'll be a large bird like an African gray or a macaw that's sold. But we're concerned with the use of the definition dangerous exotic animals, and means any animal not native or indigenous to the state of North Carolina. Most pet birds, including game fowl and waterfowl, they're not native to North Carolina. So you're pretty much saying that you can't have pet birds. Also hamsters, gerbils, ferrets, and very few people keep reptiles that are native to North Carolina. And that's because the state and federal laws prohibit keeping native species as pets. And it requires permits. I appreciate your time, and does anybody have any questions?
So looking back at the at the ordinance, it appears you can have ferrets, and you can have gerbils, and you can have all those other things that you suggested, as long as you can, they can be sold in a pet store in North Carolina. So I think what we did was get away from to generalization and got relatively specific about what the state of North Carolina requires and allows, and what we don't. So and you can buy macaws and other things, and gerbils and rats and lots of things at a pet store.
So is it legal to buy a parrot in a pet store in North Carolina?
No. It's 400 species. Some species are not readily available. And a lot of species, like your high-end large macaws, they're $40,000 a piece for a Hyson macaw. Their breeders usually screen people and sell them directly. And I raise species that just typically aren't sold in the stores. I raise them for conservation. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, next on the list is Jesse Putnam, I believe.
Jesse Putnam, 4265 Kent Street, Lincoln County taxpayer. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness in the land of the free. I need you folks that sit across from us to provide these words still have meaning. Your proposal is unjust, unfair to myself and future generations. Just 3 weeks ago, I was in a similar hearing in South Carolina that did not pass due to the immense support of the community. I moved back to North Carolina from Texas to be closer to my family. I chose Lincoln County as my permanent home for the simple reason the county had reasonable laws regarding my animals through a permit system and following State Article 55. Just because you hear about one bad apple does not mean there are not 100 or hundreds doing it right. You see, there is already a permit system in place, and an outright ban will just force keepers underground and to keep illegally. That will cause new aspiring herpetologists to be unable to find mentors in order to do this safely and responsibly. Everyone who works with these animals on a professional and medical level started out as private keepers. Are you going to be the reason we don't find a cure for cancer? Just a few examples out of the currently 106 FDA approved and being researched uses for these animals. Alzheimer's medication and the popular weight loss drug Ozempic comes from Heloderma venom. The FDA is currently in developing a drug that detects early cancer markers from Bothrops venom. Our very own southern copperhead right here is used in breast cancer treatment. Dendroaspis venom is currently being studied to synthesize a non-addictive painkiller that is 10 times more effective than morphine. With the current opioid epidemic and the drug problem Lincoln County has, maybe that would be a better use of taxpayer time and money instead of worrying about animals that wouldn't survive a North Carolina winter anyways. I am currently $50,000 out of my own pocket into a building facility that goes above and beyond the rules and regulations outlawed in Article 55. That includes money that went to Lincoln County's building permits. Over $30,000 in caging and untold amounts in these rare animals themselves. Am I just supposed to accept the loss because the animals that are legal today are illegal tomorrow? I have been in the field of herpetology to some capacity for the past 10 years. 0 bites, 0 escapes. No one has ever even been bitten by a captain venomous snake other than the handler. I am currently in the process, and that's in the United States. I am currently in the process of obtaining my USDA, which will make me exempt through education and conservation, but I do not want future generations to suffer from a bill passed through ignorance. In closing, we have a permit system in place. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Please take this into the consideration while making your decision. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, next we have Phil, I think it's Gass.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Phil Goss, President. Sorry, it's my handwriting. It's not your fault. President of the United States Association of Reptile Keepers, better known as USARC. We're a 501c6 national advocacy for responsible ownership of reptiles and amphibians. And again, we don't think it was intentional, but I'll kind of walk you through as proposed. Even with the change you made, there's still a lot of issues in this. So as proposed, you have a ban on almost all pets other than cats and dogs. It's a ban on any species not native to North Carolina. It's a ban on breeding any species not native to North Carolina. Some of the provisions are duplicative and have nested definitions. You don't utilize standard terminology throughout the ordinance, and there are vague elements. So as proposed, domestic animals, and you do have a copy of this and it was emailed to you as well. A species of animals, which there's a little typo there, which needs to be fixed. A species of animals that are indigenous to Lincoln County and normally, customarily share human habitation in Lincoln County and are normally dependent on humans for food and shelter in Lincoln County, such as dogs and cats. One big issue with that is dogs and cats aren't even native or indigenous to North America. They were imported from other continents. We made a change, which you can look at there. I know I'm reading this. It's hard to follow if someone's reading this, but all animals that share human habitation and are dependent on humans for food and shelter, including dogs and cats, and animals that are not listed as livestock or inherently dangerous animals. Because I think the goal of this was to regulate inherently dangerous animals. And again, you went kind of too far and didn't look at the definitions on this. And as Buddy pointed out, Mr. Waske pointed out earlier, even hamsters, guinea pigs, domesticated rabbits, none of those are native to North Carolina. Because, and all those species are banned because you have 6 criteria listed under dangerous exotic animal, and you use the word or instead of and at the end of number 5. If you use the word and, it would have to meet all those criteria, but because you use the word or, it only has to meet one of any of those 6 criteria. And again, number 1 is not native to North Carolina, so it bans everything not native to here. And there's also the ban on breeding, and I don't think your intent was to stop people from breeding guppy fish or parakeets or leopard geckos, but again, all that would be banned as proposed. There's a lot of duplication. You could get rid of inherently dangerous mammals, inherently dangerous reptiles, and dangerous exotic animals. Again, your goal is to regulate inherently dangerous animals. Mammals and reptiles are both a type of animal, so you could summarize that in that, and you could actually scrap the whole dangerous exotic animals section because a lot of that is just duplicative as you go on to list inherently dangerous animals. And the stated change about for sale in any North Carolina pet shop doesn't work. Just reptiles, there's over 3,000 species in trade. Parrots, there's 350 species in trade. Fish and corals, there's over 30,000. Opening it up to those sold at pet shops in North Carolina is going to open up about 10 species of reptiles, maybe 5 species of birds, and maybe 100 species of fish. There's a whole lot that aren't sold in North Carolina pet shops, and they're also not dangerous. And also the justification that you copied it from other counties. I mean, just because another state, another county has a bad law or city, I don't want to see you replicate that, and I hope you fix the changes, and I can answer any questions. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
No
Next.
questions?
No, we're good. Thanks,
Okay.
sir. Next, Brittany Fail.
Brittany Fell, 4379 John Ritchie Road, Iron Station, North Carolina. I'm here for a group. Today I stand before you to challenge a growing movement, the push to ban the ownership of exotic animals. While this may seem like a well-intentioned effort to protect both animals and the public, I urge you to take a closer look. A blanket ban is not the solution. Instead of protecting animals and people, it punishes responsible owners, undermines personal freedoms, and could even do more harm than good. Let's begin with the fundamental principle, freedom. In a free society, individuals have the right to make choices, even unusual ones, so long as they do not harm others. Keeping an exotic animal, when done responsibly and ethically, is no different than owning a dog, a cat, or a horse. Should we punish all exotic pet owners because of a few isolated cases of neglect or danger? Absolutely not. Second, responsible exotic animal ownership exists and it thrives. There are countless private individuals who dedicate their lives, time, and resources to giving exotic animals better care than many zoos or sanctuaries. With proper licensing, habitat management, care, training, these animals can live long, healthy lives under human care. Rather than outlawing ownership, we should support regulation and education that separates the responsible from the reckless. Third, these animals play a role in education and conservation. Many exotic animal owners partner with schools, nonprofits, conservation groups to teach people about biodiversity and environmental stewardship. Some even participate in breeding programs that help sustain species that are endangered or at risk in the wild. Taking away their ability to care for these animals can disrupt valuable conservation efforts. In one comment on Facebook, they said that exotic owners had a place to put their input before this went through, and that is not true. We have talked to Officer Matthews very regularly lately, and he has told us multiple times that there was not going to be a ban, that they were just rewriting the ordinance. When he sent us the ordinance, it was not this ordinance that we put our input in on. Jana won't even speak to us. We have the most exotic animals in Lincoln County, and we have been here for many, many years. Never once have we had an incident or a problem out of Lincoln County. Most of you probably don't even know that there used to be a chimpanzee in Lincoln County because we weren't an issue. We have had these animals for many, many years. We have always included Lincoln County Animal Services. They come out yearly. They check our property. They were fine with everything. Like I said, when we asked about if it was going to be a ban, we were told no, that they were just rewriting the ordinance, and then now it's a complete ban. And animals in pet shops, sometimes you can find wallabies and kangaroos in pet shops. So that's not really fair. In conclusion, the issue is not exotic animals, it's irresponsible ownership. Let us not rush into banning something because of fear or misunderstanding. Let us craft laws that encourage responsible care, supportive animal welfare, and respect individual rights. Together we can find a better path. We offer multiple times to help make this better, or make the ordinance clearer, or put in what we need to make it safer if that's the issue. If taking primates out in the public is an issue, then make it to where that's illegal. I don't think that they should be used for show and tell all the time. If you have a monkey that's scratching or biting a person, then it doesn't need to be going out in public. If that's the issue, then we need to address that one issue, not everybody, because not all of us are reckless with our animals. So, yeah. Any questions?
Thank you. All right, next we have Tracy King.
My name's Tracy King, 4369 John Ritchie Road.
Can you pull the...
John Ritchie Road. I want to know what the problem is too. I'm the exotic owner. I own the chimpanzee in Lincoln County for 32 years. What is the problem? What do we need to do as an exotic owner to say there's not a problem here? I've been here over 45 years in Lincoln County. I just don't know. We had a Matthews gave us a proposal. We looked over it. It felt good to us. That's what we were going on. We have been misinformed because they say they're rewriting it, rephrasing it. This is first time Thursday I found out that we're banned. That's what I don't get. Why? How do we go from one certain to 3-5 months that we're into a total ban? Let's deal with the issues, because we already got an ordinance in place that's been here for over 20 years. I fought the first ordinance here. The first ordinance goes back to Barbara Pickerson was our sheriff. I go back that far, 2020. But it goes, I want it right at the first ordinance. So I don't understand how we went from this to total bans, what I need to know. That's my question to y'all. What happened within this? Because I was misinformed through my own animal control, which they came out every year and inspected my cages, my animals, took pictures of everything of mine. And then they're going to go in and say, total ban? They're going to grandfather clause me in. This is my livelihood. I've raised these animals. And I've never had a complaint. And I've been here 45 years. So I don't understand why is they total banned on exotics. When I've got the damn exotics, you get my, I've got the exotics. I don't have bites. I don't have nobody biting. I ain't scratching. I don't take my animals out to public. I don't know why. It's just, I don't have a speech for y'all. I don't. I've lived this before. I've done this before in front of commissioners. And it's not easy. I'm getting old. And it's not easy to fight for my livelihood that I've been doing this. My son's raised into this. We're trying to open up a park. We are opening up a park to educate children. The children just thrive looking at animals. They thrive. They've seen animals they've never even seen before. I mean, it's just, I want to know what the total ban's about. I just want to know whose decision was it to make a total ban. Without no public hearing, no public noticing. I never got an instant email saying we're going to do a total ban. Do you need to talk about this? Nothing. I was going on the ordinance that was submitted to me, and that's what we was following through.
Thank you. Next, we have Gunny Hull. Yep. Gunny?
Gunny Hole, 319 North Poplar Street in Lincoln, North Carolina. Always the question that comes up, and the main important thing that needs to be done that I've learned now in court is jurisdiction. And a lot of times we're pushing jurisdiction. We don't have the authority to do what we're doing. I'm going to read you from Scripture. Genesis 2:7 says, "And Yahweh God formed man, the dust of the ground, and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, and man became a living soul." Now, one, it's not dogs or animals or whatever. Genesis 1:26, "And Yah said, Let us make man in our image, after our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, over the fowl of the air, and over the cattle, and over all the earth, and every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth. So Yah created man in his image, and the image of Yah created he them, male and female created them. And Yah blessed them, and Yah said unto them, Be fruitful, and multiply, and replenish the earth, and subdue it, and have dominion over the fish of the sea, over the fowl of the air, and over every living thing that moveth upon the earth." It's a scary thing when servants rise themselves higher than their employees. And I'll remind you that you are called public servants. You are hired or elected as public servants. But when you are above the law and you have two kinds of justice, one for you and one for us, or when you decide you're going to ignore the law, that I've heard some from attorneys and lawyers do, or even those that are supposed to be our protection and service us, but then they want to take the law and believe it's their position to teach the employees or the people a lesson. So you go and you want to say promote animal welfare. Well, I want to know where your jurisdiction is for that, because the Constitution, Declaration of Independence talks about general welfare, but it's about human beings and nothing about animals. So it's just the same as the Second Amendment of the Constitution. When you're going to call and say that anybody's got a gun, a rifle, or a pistol, whatever is a danger, then you went inside your scope too, because that person hasn't done nothing wrong with either one. But so it's the same thing as when you go about animals. And I really wonder why, which I understand, you want to change all these things in here and you want to say no longer animal control, you want to call it animal services. Because I see what you're doing. I know I went back and researched on some of what y'all said a long time before, that you concern more about services to animals than you are to human beings. And it's you're exceeding your responsibility and what your scope is when taxpayers paid money for y'all to serve us and protect us. Thank you.
Next signed up to speak is Drew. Is that Gant?
Drew Gant from 511 South Highway 16. For 22 people a year are killed by cattle. If you add horses and dogs into the mix, that's over 50. Since the Neolithic Revolution, we've domesticated animals and livestock. That was 13,000 years ago, and we hadn't proposed a ban on livestock in 13,000 years. There's less than 3.5 deaths per year as a result of exotic species in the United States. Cobras, monkeys, zebras, pythons, and geckos don't kill and endanger people in Lincoln County. From an ecological standpoint, Lincoln County faces no threats from invasive exotic animals. Like my buddy Jesse said, they won't survive the winter. If you want to see the threat to Americans, look at your food supply, every single one of you guys. And everybody sitting back here, that's what's killing Americans right now. Pollutants in the atmosphere, pollutants in your food, what you put in your body, carbohydrates, that's killing you right now. That's what's taking you out. That's what's taking out your family members, your grandfather, your grandmother, your aunts and uncles. That's what's killing you right now. That's the threat that we face. People tend to believe in myths and illusions because they offer certainty and emotional security. They want simple and emotional answers to complex issues. Bans and prohibitions don't change the psychology of an individual. It just turns irresponsible owners into, or it doesn't turn irresponsible owners into responsible ones. It just turns law-abiding citizens into criminals. Freedom has always been scary, but as Benjamin Franklin said, those who would give up essential liberty to purchase a little temporary safety deserve neither liberty nor safety. I encourage you to please reconsider this proposal. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next is Tanya. Can't really figure out the last name here.
Hey, I am Tanya Barker, 116 Julia Drive, Lincolnton. I have been part of helping animal control as an exotic owner up here with input on this ordinance that apparently was for nothing because now it's been a ban. I sat in on the Animal Ordinance Committee, gave input, and at the last meeting I was at, I sat in as just a, I guess, just a normal person. They had a vet from NC State giving her input on vaccines, and I know vaccines are mentioned in this new ordinance, which is very just vague because it says that mandated vaccines are required even for us that are grandfathered in. Who determines these vaccines? Nobody in this room, even animal control, it knows the difference between a new and an old world monkey. They don't have a clue. So who determines these vaccines for even us people that are grandfathered in? I have a question for commissioners. Do you guys know how many people are actually registered in this county as exotic owners? Do y'all have a clue, just a roundabout number? I mean, I'm being serious. Do y'all have just a roundabout number? There's 5. Is that not right? Last time y'all told me there was like 3 to 5 actual registered owners in this county. Is that right? Y'all are talking about banning 5 people in this county and then grandfathering us in when there are so many more. You're talking about putting plaques on our homes, advertising that we have these animals when they originally talked about just notifying emergency services. I just became a single mom, and I really don't want to advertise that I have a 6.42-pound monkey in my house with my 6-year-old for any Tom, Dick, or Harry to come and look at our big wraparound porch windows and see to possibly, bust in and steal her. That happens to exotic owners. I mean, monkeys are selling for $20,000 right now. It would be nothing to happen. So the vaccines are a concern. It says the renewal of the fee. That fee is not stated anywhere in this ordinance. It started out at $250 2 years ago. I was told by Stephanie Westmoreland on Facebook that it's $150 per home. It does not say that. It says per animal in this ordinance. There are so many questions and concerns in this thing. It's just a joke. And like the other lady was saying, we were told there was going to be an ordinance. It was being worked on. And now there is a full-out ban to make us equal with all these other counties. I understand there's a lot of things that could be, dangerous. But at the same time, if you worked with these owners, the 5 that are here, that you know of, because there's so many more, it does not have to be this way. And it is not fair to punish the ones that, for me, for 13 years have been doing everything that I'm supposed to do. And I just ask you guys to please reconsider, because I have been working with animal control, and this is not the way that this was supposed to end. Thank you.
Thank you.
So just to clarify on the fees, they were taken out of the ordinance because it is much more cumbersome and a lot more work to update the ordinance every time a fee needs to be updated. So all fees have been pulled out of our ordinances, except for penalties and fines. Fees are in the fee schedule that are adopted each year by the Board of Commissioners during the budget process.
The document they're talking about from Matthew,
So I know that the Animal Services Advisory Board previously worked on versions of the ordinance. A lot of those, including the dangerous dog portion, the enforcement portion, everything were worked on through the advisory board. Then with instruction, we moved towards a total ban. So that portion was rewritten to provide a ban of exotic animals versus what was originally written. So that was done at the direction of the board. Jana has provided me in the past, and Matthew worked, and Chelsea, I believe, all worked on this ordinance rewrite and were part of the ordinance rewrite process. Then they came to me to write the ordinance amendment. And to work through that, we worked on that for probably close to a month. But that is the document I believe that these individuals are speaking about was the original right that came from the Animal Services Advisory Board. Is that correct? Okay.
okay.
But that portion has never been published by this board on an agenda. Both agendas that have went out have had this version on it.
Right. Sure, come on. Yes, ma'am. That way everybody can hear you on the microphone.
Okay, sorry. Mr. Budd, I don't know if you remember me calling you back in December, because they typically want us to register our animals in January. I attended an advisory board committee, I don't remember, maybe in October, and they gave me like 2 minutes to speak. They wouldn't give me 3 because I had a question about the vaccines and the vet that they had talking then. And Ashley Oliphant wouldn't give me but 2 minutes to speak, and she cut me off. And I was like, okay, fine. So I walked out. I tried to call Jana several times after that to ask her questions. She's not spoke to me since then. Like Brittany was saying, she hasn't spoke to anybody. I've got proof. I've texted her. I haven't heard from her since then. So I called Bud. Bud had to call Jana. She talked to him and pretty much told him that my little monkey was the least of her concerns when I was trying to find out about the ordinance, because Bud didn't know about the ordinance and what was going on. Do you remember that conversation? So from December to now, that ordinance we thought as owners was still being worked on. And poof, it's gone. And we're all like, what has happened? And why can't nobody answer that? I mean, it's a legitimate question we have as owners. I mean, this is livelihood for some people.
Hold on. So we hear what you're saying. So I'm going to make a motion that we table this until we as the commission get a copy of that original document that y'all were referring to that Matthew provided to y'all. I mean, we would like to see that and be able to analyze that as well. So I'm gonna make a motion.
And I do believe there's some additional questions, just as you talk about a total ban. I know everything I read in here, though, there was an exemption for anybody that currently is operating in Lincoln County.
Right.
Just to be able to continue down that path to understand more of it fully.
But then there's the thing with the vaccines. Who determines that? And advertising all over our house that, oh, hey, they've got this thing. You know what I mean? That bothers me. Why the emergency personnel isn't enough to be notified? I mean, there's only 5 of us in this entire county. That is a huge county. 5
There's only 5 that are registered. There's more.
Oh, yeah, but you're not going to know about them now. Trust me, you will never know about them now.
So we have a motion on the floor to table this until we get additional documents. So
I'll second that.
with that being said, any discussion? All in favor of the table? Opposed? Okay, so this item here is tabled until we get additional information and documents, and we appreciate you guys coming out and giving y'all's input to this. And like I said, we're not trying to control what's going on with everything with that. I think some of the major concern is just letting our EMTs and police officers and other people know when they're going into a house, when there's a call, to give them a heads up of what's behind that door, and protect people of that nature. That's, I think, the original push. Is there anything else any other commissioner would like to add to that?
Only that we've got, I don't know, 60 or 80 emails. It's not necessary to email us again. And so let me just say that when you have an email that's a form email, it's not like having one that you write yourself. And the concern that you show in the emails that you write yourself are much more understanding than a form email, just so you know.
Yeah, we'd rather have 10 words that you wrote than just signing something that somebody else wrote on a generic post.
Okay, so we will move on to item number 6, and we'll take a 5-minute recess real quick. Thank you. Okay, we are back in session. Now we will move to item number 6, Lake Norman Marine Commission discussion. I'm going to open this up with public comments. So first on the list to speak is John Johnson. And just as a reminder for everybody that if you're here to speak for a group, the group needs to be identified and you will get 5 minutes. If they're not identified, you will get 3.
Okay, thank you. My name's John Johnson. I live in Cornelius. I have had a boat on Lake Norman since 1985. I'm the current acting chairman of the Lake Norman Marine Commission. And professionally, I've worked as a safety and health professional for over 50 years, helping protect safety and health of employees and the public. One of the things that I would like...
Wait 1 second. Yeah, so 5 minutes, not 3.
Is that what he got? Okay,
Sorry.
Thank you. One of the things I'd just like to cover here is literally the details that are in our act that we've been working under for 65 years related to what y'all will be voting on tonight. The 1969 Act to establish the Marine Commission says a county may unilaterally withdraw from participation as required by any joint resolution or provision once the commission has been created. And any county may unilaterally withdraw from said commission at the end of the budget period. Upon effectuation of such withdrawal, the commission is dissolved and all property of the commission shall be distributed to or divided among the 4 counties or other public agencies in a manner equitable to the 4 counties. So if you all vote to leave the Marine Commission tonight, tomorrow we will begin dissolving the Marine Commission. Now this started out back over the winter with some private meetings and some people who got together with the intent of eliminating and replacing the Marine Commission. This was done in background discussions, not part of public debate. And where we're at now is it's gotten public. Members of the public, elected officials, formerly elected officials, now are getting a lot of heat over leaving the Marine Commission and the effect it'll have to eliminate the Marine Commission on Lake Norman. So what's happening now is people are saying kind of a classic thing of, don't worry, it's not going to be that bad. That's what I'm starting to hear. It's really not going to be that bad. So think about that as a marketing ploy. You know, you go buy a car and the dealer says, well, you should buy this car. It's really not that bad. Or some restaurant has a new sandwich. Try our sandwich. It's really not that bad. So what you're hearing from people now is they recognize that this looks awful and it's going to be awful. 2024 is the safest year on Lake Norman in recent history. We had 1 boating-related fatality. Our goal for 2025 was 0. If I'd come to you all 5-10 years ago and said our goal is 0 for the next year, you'd say, oh yeah, good luck with that, because we were killing 5 to 8 people every year. Now, how did we get there? Through coordinated efforts of legislation, education, reaching out to all the counties, making this happen. And so we got down to 1. 0 is a doable goal now. And as a safety and health professional, I believe every fatality is preventable like this. So now we're getting attention, but if we don't learn from the past, we'll just repeat. We'll do it again. So let's go back to 2014. 2014, Mountain Island. Okay, what did the people say at Mountain Island? Oh, we'll get a new Marine Commission in place by fall. Bill failed. 2021, Senator says, we'll put a new Mountain Island Marine Commission. Bill failed. So now there's no Marine Commission on Mountain Island. And everybody down there is talking about how horrible it is. Now, I hear people say, we'll get Raleigh to quickly put together a new Marine Commission. We'll get it in place in no time. Folks, I've worked in Raleigh, and I can tell you the word quickly and Raleigh shouldn't be in the same sentence. It doesn't work that way. Maybe next year, maybe the following year, but maybe it won't be so bad. So what's going to happen? If you all vote to leave tonight, starting tomorrow, the Marine Commission will start dissolving. We will be done by June 30th, just in time for the 4th of July holiday. There will be no Marine Commission on Lake Norman. The rental boat rules go away, the charter boat rules go away, the jet ski boat rules go away. Those are Marine Commission regulations. They're not wildlife, they're not state. When the Marine Commission goes away, those go away. So we've been doing our job for 65 years. Nobody hardly knows what Lake Norman was like without a Marine Commission. But what are you hearing? Trust us, maybe it won't be so bad. Do you have any questions?
No, sir, thank you.
Thank you.
Next on the list is Bruce, and I'm probably going to kill this last name. Okay.
I'm Bruce Onsager, 2784 Morris Lane in Denver, and I'm here to talk to an issue on which the Lake Norman Marine Commission has been ineffective. I started talking with them a couple of years ago about the issue of permanently anchored and moored boats on Lake Norman. And as the boats started to arrive, I reached out to the commission, and they were not at all interested in this issue. They said, well, we don't have any rules about anchoring or mooring on Lake Norman. I said, well, that's the point. Communities who have had this issue mushroom on them have learned that they really wish they had ordinances before the problem mushroomed. They showed no interest. This was 2 years ago. So now I'm here to show you some pictures of what's happened since then. Can you roll the pictures? So this is the newest one. It's at Beatty's Ford Landing. The newest one's at Beatty's Ford Landing. It's a sailboat with no mast. It couldn't be sailed if you wanted to sail it. Next one. The registration is 3 years out of date on this boat. It showed up, it's tied up to the stake in the foreground with an anchor in the background. It's really a nice addition to Beatty's Ford Landing. Next picture. These are two of the oldest ones. It's two commercial excursion vessels. Those two ropes in the front, that's what's holding these boats in place. Next picture. They're very large boats. You probably know them from having seen them on the lake in previous years. And they've been sitting here swaying in the wind for a couple of years now. Nothing's happening with these. Lake Norman Commission knows about these. Nothing's happening. Next picture. This is another new one. This is a boat by the Party Island off of Governor's Island. This one showed up this spring. It's actually, the anchors haven't been holding it, so it's run aground on the sand of this island now. Who knows what they're going to use this boat for? I couldn't get close enough to see the registration because it's run aground, and I didn't want to run aground. Next picture. This is an up close of how pretty it is. Next picture. Not again. So I think that's good advice for Lake Norman Commission. We've got to stop letting this happen again and again with these boats showing up permanently anchored. Next picture. This is one of the oldest ones. This boat also has a registration that's 2 years out of date. This is on an island just outside of a Peninsula Yacht Club. Lots of people see this. It's been here a while. That's its rope there. It's also tied ashore. Next picture. Clean break. He made a clean break. He doesn't even have to pay for a slip. He just parks his boat here on Lake Norman. Next picture. He uses it, but he leaves his little mooring ball there so he can always come back and tie up again when he's done using it. Again, his registration is 2 years out of date. Next picture. So we're back to the beginning. So there are 5 of these boats now that have come over the last 2 years. These issues don't tend to grow linearly. They tend to mushroom. People see, wow, that's a good idea. I can have a boat on Lake Norman. Don't have to buy a slip. Lake Norman Commission showed no interest, have passed no ordinances. This thing will mushroom.
Thank you. All right, next on the list is Robert Watson, okay.
Good afternoon, thank you very much. My name is Bob Watson. I live at 120 South Cove Key Lane in Mooresville, Iredell County. And I've been involved with the Marine Commission as an advisory group on hazmat since I got involved with Olympia about a year ago at my house. I couldn't find anybody that knew anything about Olympia and also eelgrass, and so I worked on that. Finally, I had 2 meetings at the Peninsula Club, over 200 people at the Peninsula Club with the news media there, and we finally found out what Olympia is. And I started working with different groups to figure out how to address Olympia. And we figured out $35,000. So in the meeting I had at the club, we raised $25,000 from the homeowners in the Cornelius area to deal with it. And so I told the people, Bob Munzel back there, myself, told the group that if we get money from anybody else, we'll refund the $25,000, thereabouts. So after the meeting, we got in news media and everything else. All the counties came together. We raised about $50,000 to deal with Olympia. So we returned the $25,000 or thereabouts to all the homeowners there and dealt with the Olympia ourselves. Well, it cost us about $35,000 to deal with Olympia. I don't know how many of you guys know what Olympia is, but it's a toxic, bad stuff. So after I got they had eelgrass problems that I went to the commission, was at the meeting, and for some reason they want to be identified, but I had at the meeting at the Peninsula. And then we got the eelgrass came up. Eelgrass I tried to deal with. The Marine Commission want nothing to do with it. So I worked with the homeowners, about 50 homeowners. It cost $600 a piece to deal with it. Well, we used the $35,000 to treat the Olympia. There was $55,000 there to treat the eelgrass. They sent the money to UNC State, $15,000, which I don't even know where it went. I mean, they're supposed to do research on it. We didn't raise the money for research. We raised the money to treat the problem. Anyway, my time with the Marine Commission, we had one night, they had no money for light bulbs on the lake. And I'm going, what do you mean no money for light bulbs? I'll give you the money for light bulbs. So anyway, I came up with a plan to establish some kind of income so we could be self-sufficient. Well, the Marine Commission said, they're not interested after 3 months. They charge $1 a year for rental boats. The number one problem on the lake is the rental boats. So I said, we need to raise money to treat the rental boats, you know? And you want me to stop? Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, next on the list is Jeff Elliott.
Good evening. Just a quick question. What constitutes a group? Is that 2 or more? I'm here with my wife. Does that constitute a group?
3 minutes.
Okay, just thought I'd check. Can't fault the guy for trying. Okay, well, so first, thanks y'all for hearing us out tonight. I'd just like to disclaim that I'm a proud Lincoln County resident, 3200 Lakeshore Road South in Denver. Been here since 2010. No offense to my Mecklenburg County friends who are in the room. I escaped Mecklenburg County back in 2010. Sure glad to be here. We are weekly boaters. We certainly have our issues with things that go on in the lake. I've heard some of them already, but they bear repeating. So rentals, charters, I think there's a lot that can be done there. That said, I have no affiliation with anyone in this room, period. End of discussion. Not with the Marine Commission, not with those who would seek to change the Marine Commission. I'm just a homeowner and a taxpayer who has heard about all these proposed changes, and I'd just like to hear your thoughts on it. And I know I won't be able to hear all that tonight, so let me leave you with a few thoughts. So I guess first, withdrawing without knowing what comes next feels like a recipe for more problems, not less. So that's the first thing I'd like to say. Second, the inability to identify who is pushing for this withdrawal and why, that that makes me think, and I think it should make us all think, like, you know, backroom deals and whatnot, that's not limited to Washington. That could be happening here. I'm not saying it is. It makes you think. It makes you scratch your head. And then the third, and again, we're all working on Facebook and whatnot here, which I wish we weren't, and I'm glad that you guys took the time to chat with us tonight. Some of the proposals that we've seen online are scary, right? Like, so I wonder what happens if we do withdraw to joint jurisdiction. Do my friends in Lake Services and my friends in Lincoln County, do they get to patrol Mecklenburg, or does that all go away? You know, I don't know what happens. Second, the 1,000 feet from full pond, that feels a little excessive. I've been told that we're already at a mile. I don't, but, you know, heck, I've got a proposal here that's dated March 25th that may or may not supersede the comments that I saw in the February 14th version, and et cetera, et cetera. So, like, what's going on? Third, the removal of public recreation from the proposed what's going to come next, that's a problem. Use fees, that's been proposed or it's been talked about. I wonder what's happening there. And then this one's the one that really bugs me. The proposed expansion of the commission to 11 members, wherein 5 get proposed up front, and then they get to propose who comes next. Very, very easy for that to turn into a situation where maybe no one in this room gets any say anymore. It's ruled by Lincoln and Iredell or whatever. This should be nonpartisan. It should be balanced across all the cities or all the counties. So these are the things that I want you guys to think about as you're considering it. And I would actually like to thank Mr. Patton and Mr. Mullen for returning my email and phone call. I appreciate you guys on that. Thank you very much. Have a great night.
Thank you.
Any question? No questions from me, I said.
We're good. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Last to sign up is Billy Wilson.
Evening, Commissioners. I'm Billy Wilson. I'm a resident of Beech Tree Bait in Mooresville. I appreciate the opportunity to speak to you tonight. I'm going to keep my message relatively simple because I know that we've communicated back and forth on a lot of matters, many of which you've heard about tonight. This is my second term. I'm in my second year of my second term on the Lake Norman Marine Commission. My previous term ran from...
You're with the Marine Commission?
And yes, and the North Carolina Wildlife Federation.
Okay. Marine Commission has had their 5 minutes, so we appreciate it. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
We're going to have an open discussion here shortly. So, we're going to have open discussion here shortly. And is there anyone else who is not already part of a group or anyone else that would like to speak as an individual? Okay. If you would state your name and address.
My name is Richard Permetter. I live at 4509 Rustling Woods Drive, Denver, North Carolina, 28037, and this is like old times. My background is a retired NOAA Corps commissioned officer, which made me a professional mariner. I sailed coastal, I sailed international, I had command of ships at sea. I also afterwards got a Master Mariner's ticket just for grins. And I also served on the Lake Norman Marine Commission from 2008 to 2013, becoming chair as is typical in my 5th year. I'd point out that my 2 predecessors from Lincoln County, one of them, the one before Mac Bynum, resigned in disgust. The person that was appointed to follow him called for the abolishment, tried to abolish the Marine Commission, wanted to abolish it, or at least reduce the staff size to have a more operational focus, and he was unable to get 3 people to support any of his motions. Upon becoming on the Marine Commission, the first thing I discovered was that the nav aids were not in good condition. Actually, let me just stop here. I support the dissolving of the Marine Commission, providing there are 5 critical functions that continue. The first is maintaining the navigation aids system, the channel markers, the shoal markers, and the no-wake buoys that are owned or that are serviced by the Marine Commission. The second function that has to be addressed is lakeside law enforcement. The law that created the Marine Commission allowed for all the counties to work with North Carolina wildlife, counties, municipalities, to have jurisdiction across the lake. That has to remain. Charter boat regulation must be maintained. My recommendation, and I think the typical process, includes having a Coast Guard license and inspection at the appropriate level. The fourth function is to maintain an open lake attitude. When I was on the Marine Commission, there were at least 3 instances where municipalities or groups around the lake wanted to restrict use to sailboats only for 1 day a week, restrict coves to no power boats. The city of Davidson was going to claim jurisdiction and ban power boats completely on a part that they call Lake Davidson. The last one is hydrilla control. I know about eelgrass. I read all about that, but hydrilla is lake-wide. It's addressed with sterile grass carp. Duke paid most of the money for that. The biggest problem I saw on the Marine Commission...
We'll give you a few more.
Can I finish?
Yes, sir.
The biggest problem I saw in the Marine Commission is that in excess of 50% of the budget at a time, when it was $25,000 per county, $100,000 per year total, was going for administrative overhead, an executive director, an assistant executive director, accounting, and so on, and the navigation aids were not being maintained. There was no system of inventory, no spares. As a professional mariner, I found that appalling. And it took 5 years to turn it around. So, do we need a Marine Commission? No. You need the functions maintained without the administrative overhead. The Marine Commission has not been responsive in the past few years to the best of my personal experience. So, let North Carolina Wildlife do it. It belongs with them, reasonably. Thanks. Sorry for running over.
Thank you. Okay, so
my name is Kara Lukart. I'm a resident in Denver at 8088 Malibu Point Lane. I don't have anything prepared. I was expecting a presentation from you all about why you thought potentially withdrawing from the Marine Commission might be a good idea. I hope to receive that information from you. I'm not affiliated with any group. I see the benefit of the Lake Norman Marine Commission. I think the things that they do with a very small budget are very necessary. I do believe that there's opportunities for improvement, like some of the people have requested. There's always an opportunity to do more with proper streamlining and less administrative burden. But I think what they do is extremely, extremely important. And if you choose to leave, I am very, very fearful that there will be numerous deaths on Lake Norman. Thank you.
thank you. Okay, so I will now close the public comment portion of this discussion. Is there any commissioner that would like to add anything or say anything to what we're discussing at this time?
Yes, sir, and I'll just try and be really brief. If you look online, the sky is falling, and it's not. The law enforcement officers are going to continue doing what they've done up until this afternoon. They're going to be on the lake, going to be working the lake. We have increased our lake patrol by 2 deputies. We've increased our boat fleet by another one, by at least 1 more. The sheriff of Lincoln County and the police chief of Cornelius and the other sheriffs understand that they still have the same jurisdiction that they've always had, as given to them by Chapter 1089, House Bill 1324. What folks have been really surprised about lately is that 1,000-foot rule that people keep talking about. Well, if you think that's bad, understand that the session law provides for 1 mile inland for their jurisdictional status. And what Lincoln County has recommended is the 760 line. So if you look at the numbers, if you look at what's out there online, just take a breath for just a second and understand law enforcement is not going to change one iota. There are very few, if any, citations that I'm aware of written for the ordinances. And there's a reason for that. And there's a reason that our deputies don't write those citations. It's because back some time ago, I recommended to the Marine, and I've been going to the Marine Commission meetings for a couple of years now, and I've been riding with our deputies, and I've talked to the Cornelius deputies and police officers. And the issue there is that no one from the Marine Commission talked to the district attorneys to get their approval for these things. No one talked to the sheriff about it. The sheriff had a meeting back in April some time ago, back a year or so ago, but that was a very ugly meeting where the accusations were made against the deputies and the sheriff about his performance. And after that meeting, the sheriff requested that we remove one of the board members, but we did not, because we were advised that it would embarrass the Marine Commission and embarrass that person, so we just let him stay. It's sad that this has come to what it has come to, because initially the Limbia stuff started over in the peninsula where they have it bad, and we did not want it to come to Lincoln County. And so when we were asked to donate $10,000, we did. In fact, we were the first county that donated money to eradicate Limbia. Then this year, fortunately for everyone on the lake, the Catawba Water Management Group took over the Limbia stuff. We were asked to provide $24,537 or something. And we were the first county to do that because we firmly believe in being good neighbors to Mecklenburg County, Iredell County, and Catawba County. And we don't want Limbia here. But we have a little spot now. I think it's out by Little Creek Landing. Our issue with the rental boats is that without enforcement activity, the rental boats just kind of run wild and do whatever they darn well please. And our access point is different than that access point in Mecklenburg County. Mecklenburg County owns their access point. We do not. We lease from Duke. And so we only can do certain things at our place with or without their consent. So this year, as we get with the swim beach and the fishing pier, we have added significant surveillance techniques. We've worked with wildlife. The sheriff's added deputies out there this summer when the school resource officers are out of school. They'll be out there working the lake and working the access point because we can't seem to get anything done with the rental boats and the people who charter the boats. And that's kind of sad because that seems to be a big issue. And I'm discouraged by some of the issues that have been brought up online. I'm discouraged because, as John said, there's been a lot of misinformation about all of this. Tomorrow morning, this afternoon, legislation was proposed to the Senate. Tomorrow morning it'll be on the Senate record. It's going in tomorrow morning, so it's moving. It's going into rules tomorrow. It's not exactly what everybody wanted. A small group that was supposedly under the table had a pretty large meeting over at Lincoln County Economic Development Corporation, and we got a lot of input from there. Jeff Tart's sitting in the room. He's back there hiding. And Jeff's been the placekeeper for the information, and the Lake Norman Marine Commission has provided him with input as well, and that input has gone into the new legislation. So for anybody who says they haven't had a say-so in this, that's just incorrect information. The attorneys for Lincoln County, the Catawba County, Iredell County, and Mecklenburg County have gotten together and said, we want to make sure that the law enforcement portion of this works out. And although there was a resolution, thank you, a resolution in 2015 that said, yes, we're going to leave them alone. And even though
the general statute is not going to be taken away from. They'd like to have another one, and of course, they'd like to have another resolution that says that we're going to keep our law enforcement out there. And so we said, sure, what the heck? It's not necessary. It's not, but we're good. We're going to be good neighbors is what we're going to be here in Lincoln County. But we think there's a better way to do this, and we think that part of the better way to do this is to dissolve ourselves from the current Marine Commission. So as the new one comes on board, it'll be fresh, new, and there are 9 members. There will be 8 members. There'll be 3 from each. There'll be people from each county, and then there'll be 1 chosen at large as well. But it's all going to be online tomorrow morning. Are we all going to be happy about it? I don't think so. There was a couple things in there I didn't care much for, and I'm sure there's a couple things in there that the Marine Commission are not going to be really happy about. But it's the best we could do with all the information that was provided by everyone from the Marine Commission to us and the little group from Cornelius that I've been a part of since it got started. And so there's lots and lots of stuff that's going on. And I've fielded lots and lots of phone calls and be glad to field a few more if anyone chooses to. The biggest issue I see that we have to deal with is the markers. And I think we've come up with a plan for that. So if Duke Power's here in the room, and if we can make it a little easier for them, then I think we make it a little easier for them. We want to be cooperative with Duke Energy. We want to be good stewards of the lake, because the lake is incredibly important to all of us here in Lincoln County. It's a huge economic driver, and we need to continue being safe. I think I've run my mouth quite enough. Mark, you got something?
Yeah, I just follow up with that. Been on the lake, might be newbie on this board, but I've been enjoying the waters of Lake Norman since 1983. So I guess, it's great that I'm down there every weekend. I'm raise my kids on the lake. So I've really had a vested interest in it and followed the Marine Commission for a lot of years. The concerning part goes back to Mr. Mentor's opening remarks on number 1, and that's maintaining the Antons on Lake Norman. It's vital, and it's disheartening to see how that's been handled in the past. I mean, just to give you a great example of that, you go back and you look up the Lake Norman Marine Commission's minutes, and you go to August of last year, and you've got the osprey nests that are obstructing lights, which I get it. You can't disassemble the nest while there's an active egg in it. But outside of that, we move forward to March 10th, 7 months later, and we've still got 5 of the same ones obstructed. And if it's so important that people are going to die if we don't keep this done, why has it not been done? And I think that's why we're really looking to do something better than the way it's been treated in the past. That's just one of the many examples, but I'm like Bud, we've got a plan for all this. This isn't willy-nilly. We've done our research, we've done our homework, and we know which way to go forward.
I'm done.
Okay. Mr. Tartt, is there anything you would like to add?
Only if there's a question. It's a little different from my position.
If you could
Jeff.
If you could come up to the microphone here.
I'm happy to answer any questions. Again, my name's Jeff Tart. I live at 17216 Belle Isle Drive in Cornelius. I'm former 3-term mayor of Cornelius, former 3-term state senator. I've lived on the lake, had a boat dock on the lake for 30 years. High school, I went to marine mechanics school. My dad was a boat dealer. So same thing, growing up on the lake, a lot of you. So vested interest, my family's raised here. But my position and role is a little bit different than the issue you guys are discussing right now, other than the go-forward position. I've been asked by Senator Sawyer and Senator Alexander to try to help, for lack of a better way, to facilitate the conversation between the current Marine Commission and the work group that's been dealing with where does the Marine Commission go in the future. And I will state by flat out full disclosure, people on the Marine Commission, people on the work group are neighbors, friends. I respect everyone in that group. They are people I've known for a long, long time. I've been involved with the Marine Commission for over 2 decades on various issues. I was involved with the sterile carp solution that we went and dealt with at the state. That was me getting in the middle of that and other things that we continue to do. What I've been working on is getting the groups together, the language, and listening to both sides. We've started, so just as background, with session law. This didn't just as far as what gets constituted going forward. We're dealing with old session law that's approximately 65 years old. We know parts of it are out of date. There are things that need to be improved. I think one issue we've seen for decades going on is that there's always been the question, does the Marine Commission have authority for that? One group will say yes, one group will say no. That could be within the commission, it could be within Raleigh. The intent of taking this legislation to enhance the session law is to give clarity and specificity to the existing law to make it easier to enforce and ensure what the authority the Marine Commission will have going forward so they can do their job without question on the lake for all of us. So that's what we've been involved with. You are correct in stating I've in communication with Senator Sawyer even this evening. They have taken the session law as a foundation. They're doing, I'll get a little nerdy on you legislatively. They're creating what's called a proposed committee substitute. It will take the input from all groups. Everybody can suggest stuff to the legislature. All that language, they've provided to a formal group called bill drafting, and they've made modifications to that session law that is an amendment going forward to be heard in the state and local committee. I used to chair it, so I'm familiar with what they do. Tomorrow at noon. You can actually go online and listen to the conversation among the committee members. You can also go on and view the current language that's going to be before the Senate committee tomorrow at noon. So everybody gets a chance to see. And yes, it has been moving because everybody's been trying to listen to good ideas. They're not contained by one group or one person. And that's all been worked into this group. This has been going on for several months. It's, as you noted, it's elected officials, former elected officials, it's commissioners from all 4 counties, it's current Marine commissioners, it's past Marine commissioners, it's citizens that have been involved in various aspects that impact the lake. There's probably 60 to 70 people at a minimum that have given input to the language. And as Commissioner Budd, as you had mentioned, it's not going to be exact. There's things in there that personally I would like to see, and I know for a fact did not get included. But I think when you look at it, it will be such a stronger and better piece of legislation that will govern how the Marine Commission, what they can and cannot do. Again, adding clarity and specificity. And what we will find is the big issue is the change from being merely session law to what is going to become, if it passes, general statute. And what that does is give clarity for our law enforcement and our courts to know what they can enforce from the regulation and rules that may be put in place by the Marine Commission. So, sorry for the long, but that gives you a little background. I don't know if you have questions. I'm candidly, last comment, I'm excited for what it'll do. Being a resident and a citizen living on the lake, it'll make us much safer and it'll make the Marine Commission much stronger and enable them to do a great job.
So I just want to clarify for myself. So you're saying with the session law that it's going to allow our law enforcement officers throughout the lake to actually enforce the ordinances and things that the Marine Commission come up with?
Without question.
Okay, thank you.
I'm sorry, just got one quick thing. I spoke with the folks over at River Keepers because they're a great bunch, and their government, Reed, is this Reed? Ryan, I'm sorry.
Ryan Carter, he's the government affairs person for the River Keepers.
They've been looking at this as well, and they've been in the background looking at this, and they've contacted several state senators as well, have they not?
They have. And again, River Keepers is a group I've been actively involved with. I know Ryan personally, and he's been giving some feedback and ideas as well.
Great bunch. I spoke with them this past weekend. Thank you, Jeff, and thank you for your leadership in this.
Thank you, Commissioners.
All right, thank you. Okay. Do we have any other discussion? Anything else? Anybody on the right? Anybody on the left? No. So, I think we've got all the discussion we've had here. It's time for the commissioners to. I think you still So anyway, you got anything? Anything on over here? Anybody over here? Okay. So I will close the discussions. Sir, you're out of order. We're through with discussion in the open public, so it's time for the commissioners to have discussion. So, anything else, guys?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we remove ourselves from the Marine Commission.
So we have a motion on the floor by Commissioner Cecina that we remove ourselves officially from the Marine Commission.
And that effective date will be June 30th?
That effective date is June the 30th, as per the statute that requires that we do this at the end of the budget year.
Okay, so I'll clarify the motion so everybody's understanding, make sure I correctly say this. The motion by Commissioner Cecina is that we leave the Marine Commission effective June the 30th, 2025, as that will end our budget and our new budget year starts July 1, 2025. Is there any other discussion? Did I state that correctly?
Yes, sir.
All right, motion's on the floor. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, ayes have it. It is passed. So we will officially leave the Marine Commission on June the 30th, 2025. All right, now we will go to item number 8, other business.
Oh, yeah, I do. So just want to remind everybody that coming up on the 11th of this month, it begins National Law Enforcement Week, the National Police Week. And there will be thousands and thousands of police officers descending on Washington, D.C. The president will be speaking. It's a pretty big deal for police officers, National Police Week. So just remind everybody that it starts on the 11th on Mother's Day and runs for a week. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
All right, thank you. So any other business? Okay, we'll go to item number 9, appointments.
Mr. Chair, I would like to appoint Martin Oakes to fulfill the vacancy on the Lake Norman Marine Commission as requested by the Lake Norman Marine Commission.
Okay, is that in the form of motion?
Yes, sir.
All right, we have a motion to appoint Martin Oakes to the Lake Norman Marine Commission, since there's a vacancy there, and that person is to come from Lincoln County. All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? All right, Martin is appointed to that position. I will now entertain a motion to adjourn. All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Patton to adjourn. Any discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you.